Top of the team, Coach E, and it's time to leverage your life. Now, if you didn't know, your life is your business. And if you're not living the life that you desire and deserve, it's because you're not minding your business. And if you're not minding your business, it might be because you don't know what your business is. And if that's the case, you're in the right place. Now, I believe, and I pretty much think that this is a general synopsis, is that life is the best teacher. That there's no better teacher than life itself, than Mother Nature herself. And therefore, that would mean that living is best required or best qualified to teach, to learn the best lessons in life, the greatest lessons in life. You have to live. Now, I've been on this earth in this form for about 41 years, so I've lived about 4 decades. So I've lived a life of different levels of ups and downs and seen a lot in this time. And I'm always observing and I'm always looking at things from different perspectives. One thing I notice about myself is that whenever I'm productive and I'm doing something that is working towards an actual, say, goal, I remember I would never get messed with by the police. I would never get pulled over. I would never get harassed or anything. But anytime I was in those periods of my life where I was like floating, didn't have an actual direction, wasn't being very productive, it was like I would constantly get pulled over. It was like I was always on their radar. It was even times where I got pulled over twice for the same thing. And it was even a time when I'm left out of court from handling something and I get arrested after leaving from the court. So there's just these periods in my life that I realized when I wasn't being productive, that I would just be on their radar. But when I was productive and focused, it would be like I didn't even exist to them and I couldn't see them. I wouldn't even see one drive past. Another thing I notice in life is that there are people that I know that never have a problem getting a job. And I know you know somebody like that. You know, they could quit a job and get another job. And you probably like, man, I can't quit because I don't even know where I'm going to go. But this person over here, they'll stop one job, get another job. It just come easy to them. And then you got people that you know that's always looking for work. And the people that can get a job, it be in any economy. It don't even be the economy. It could be in a recession or not. They just know how to find a job. But the person that doesn't get the job, you can see places where it say help wanted. They ain't never applied. But for some reason, they just can't never get it. They applied, nothing never worked for them. Then it's also people that I see, women I see, who can't get a man. And at the same time, I know people who never have a problem getting a man. That if they lost their boyfriend today, 2 weeks later, they probably have a new boyfriend. Not because they just a slut, but because they just know how to find somebody, while the other person thinks that the dating pool just sucks. So I'm asking myself, is it the dating pool or is it them? Is it the economy with the person that can't get the job, or is it them? Was it me that was doing things to create the police to come around me, or was it the police? Or was it just the environment? After asking myself those questions, I also thought about failure and success. And I thought about something that I think people don't consider a lot. And one thing that people don't consider is that failure does not happen overnight. And I said, okay, well, if failure does not happen overnight, is it possible to work for failure? And how does somebody do that? I mean, obviously, nobody wants to fail. So, how would somebody literally work towards failure? But it has to be true. You have to work for it because it doesn't happen overnight. So with that, I was like, okay, well, how do people succeed? Because if I can't explain how people fail specifically, maybe I can explain how people succeed and then use that as a basis of understanding how people fail. Now, there's a book called The Kabbalion, and I suggest everybody read. And in the Kabbalion, it talks about the principle of duality as one of the 7 principles or laws that govern the universe. And in this principle, it means that for everything, there's an opposite. For male, you have female. For up, you have down. For left, you have right. And they don't just coexist. They cannot exist without each other. So therefore, it means that they're defined by each other. And by nature of one existing, the other exists. So there can't be a down if there's no up. There can't be a left if there's no right. If you look on a compass, north and south are on opposite ends of one pole. So it's one line. But north is determined by its relationship to south. Same thing with east and west. They're not on separate lines. They're not on their own lines. They're on the same line, but they're opposite poles of each other. So that means that not only does everything have an opposite, and not only are they related, they can't even exist separate from each other. So then I looked at failure and success. I said, well, failure and success cannot exist separate from each other. So how can I experience success without experiencing failure? Well, I know it's impossible because they're connected. What I want to do is I want to have more successes than failures, and I want my failures to lead to success. But going back to what I just said, how do I work for failure in the same manner as you work for success? Now, the principle of duality shows that everything is connected. So if they're connected, failure and success, then the way I do one thing is the exact way I do the other, just in reverse. So how do we succeed? There's three main ways. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes belief. How do these things, or how are these things done in one way to succeed and in another way to fail? Because these three things, time, effort, and belief, can be used in a negative or in a positive way. And we're going to dive into that right now. So to be successful, it takes time. Now, we always say we all got the same 24 hours. So how with the same 24 hours is one person productive and another person not? It's how they manage their time. The person that is successful, I'm not saying that he doesn't waste time, but what I am saying is that 80% of his time is not wasted. And if you want to know why a person fails, just reverse that. Instead of 20% time wasted, 80% time productive, a failure has 80% time wasted and 20% time productive. So while one is taking advantage of their time, the other is not. And that's how a person that fails uses the first principle to succeed to fail, by using that principle in reverse. And instead of taking advantage of their time, they don't take advantage of it. The second principle is effort. Now, when people are successful, they put forth a deliberate effort. We all understand that success is deliberate, that it does not happen on accident, that you have to actually have a plan and you have to be calculated to succeed. Well, contrary to popular belief, you have to do the same thing to fail, only in reverse. So how do we make efforts to fail? I mean, well, one of the obvious reasons is the lack of effort. The lack of effort is not being put forth what needs to be done to succeed, and therefore automatic failure. But also it's effort in the wrong places. And a lot of us, a lot of times, put too much attention on the things that do not make sense and push that needle, and therefore we don't meet with the success we want. So it's misplaced effort or lack of effort altogether. Then the last one is belief. Now, in order to succeed, we know we have to believe that we can succeed, and we have to believe in ourselves that we are going to succeed. So you say, well, how do you believe for failure? The same way. The thing is, your ratio of belief that you will fail is stronger than your ratio of belief that you won't. See, we have this misconception that people who are winners don't fear losing or don't lose. Or we have this misconception that people that are brave are never scared. But the fact of the matter is, the people that are brave are doing it scared. And that's what makes them brave. The people that are winning aren't afraid to lose. And that's why they win. And they have more belief in their winning than they do in their losing. And it's the reverse when it comes to people who are failing in life. They believe more definitively that they will fail at something than they believe they will win at something. I said this recently on a post. We have to make the same excuses to succeed and believe in them the same way we make excuses not to succeed. The same way when somebody approaches you with an opportunity and your mind immediately start thinking about ways that you want to avoid it because you just don't want to do it. And once you start going through that process of making these excuses and accepting these excuses, then you eventually don't follow through. You need to do that same thing with success. You need to immediately come up with reasons why you can't succeed. And you need to rehearse in your mind or something to tell you about past successes so that you can understand that it is possible to succeed. And then you need to convince yourself of those excuses, because we often do it too often with the things that we fail at, but we don't seem to be able to apply that same principle with the things we want to succeed at. So just in a synopsis, understanding that opposites have a relation that's unique. They are connected and they cannot be separated. So any way you would do one thing to get one outcome, you can do the same thing in reverse to get the other outcome. Failure, just like success, cannot happen overnight. So with that being said, the premise is that to succeed and to fail both take effort. And if they both take effort, if you don't know what you specifically did to fail, look at the things you take to do to succeed and think of how you've done those things in reverse. And then you'll understand how you've worked and earned the failure that you have right now. Whatever it is you have right now, you have to accept the fact that you worked for it. If you don't have the body that you want, if you don't have the money that you want, you worked for it. The same way a bodybuilder has built their body up to have six-pack abs, a huge chest, a defined back, nice legs, is the same way you've worked to not have any of those things. Men, you worked for that. You worked for the dad bod. You think you didn't do anything and that's why you got it. No, you did do things. You had a diet for that body. You had a certain activity plan for that body, and therefore you earned it. You earned your credit score. You earned what's in your bank account. You earned what you have right now. Nothing happens by happenstance. Nothing happens by accident. And failure does not happen overnight. You earned it. You worked for it. Now all you have to do is put that work and effort in reverse.